Hey guys, MVC here for the Scam Pro Gaming tab for another video review. Today we're going to be checking out the G303 from Logitech, essentially a relaunched 302. Now if you cast your eyes back to my 302 review and you haven't seen it, it'll be somewhere available here to click on the screen. My main complaint was the fact that it wobbled. Now the sensor did have a low max tracking speed, kind of rectified in the 402 with the use of fusion technology, but it would still be okay for 99% of people. My issue was the fact that this wobble left and right was caused by a lack of mouse feet on the left and right edge of the mouse. This has now been rectified on the 303, as well as adding a braided cable, RGB lighting, and implementing the 502 sensor, the 3366. It promises really to be one of the best mice, if not the best mouse on the market, if you can get on with the shape. So with that said, we're going to jump into a quick overview, have a look at the software and thoughts on gameplay. Going to try and make it as short as possible because essentially it is a fixed 302 but with the 502 sensor, and then talk about my final thoughts at the end and hopefully convince you whether it's worth picking up for your money. So enjoy the video guys, and we'll catch you at the end. The Logitech G303 is a ambidextrous shape mouse with 6 programmable buttons, however only features side buttons on the left, so still strictly is a right-handed mouse. It has a height of 115mm, a width at the widest point of 65mm, and a depth of 37, and is one of the lightest mouse available on the market at 87 grams without the cable, or with that braided cable of 127, a value you shouldn't take too much notice of. Now the buttons here again, like the 302, feature that metal spring button tensioning system on mouse 1 and 2, making them some of the lightest on the market, but still satisfying to click and bounce back reliably. Some regard them to be the best available. Now the sensor features that Delta Zero technology, the S3366, developed in cooperation with Pixar and Logitech exclusive. It was featured in the 502 and has a max tracking speed of over 300 inches per second and zero acceleration inherent, something we'll get into later on, but technically it is the best sensor on the market. And if you couple that with all the other improvements since the 302, such as the braided cable and RGB lighting, including the onboard profiles, the 3 that you do get, making it great to take with you to an event. You've got a very high quality built mouse, a surface coating that isn't rubberized and going to wear down over time, but is still comfortable and usable for both sweaty and non-sweaty palms. It really is potentially the best mouse that money can buy on the market. It's just, for me, the shape is definitely still like Marmite. I can claw, fingertip and palm grip the mouse comfortably, but in terms of palm gripping the mouse, something that I tend to do anyway, I'd rather use the 402 if it had this sensor, or the 502 if it was a little bit lighter. But if you're in the market for an ambidextrous yet still right-handed mouse, then keep watching because this is definitely one to consider. But before jumping into gameplay, let's have a look at the software available for the G303. Again, kind of a mix mash of the 302 button set with the G502 sensor and feature set there together in the G303, but we'll show you what you're getting for your money anyway. So we can either run the mouse through onboard memory and the 3 profiles you get with that, or through automatic game detection and set it up with your game executable files. Useful if you have more than 3 games with more than 3 different macro sets. But personally, I just use its onboard memory and a single profile with steps of 400, 800 and 1600. It will go all the way up to 12,000 in increments of 50. 50 increments is extremely useful in games that don't give you enough control over the sensitivity. So if you're not getting decimal places in game, this is going to be extremely useful, particularly in Unreal Engine, for example. You need to stay above a sensitivity of 5, otherwise it does some weird scaling. So for example, this makes it perfect for that. But we've also got DPI shift functionality. We don't take advantage of it though, because we don't have an additional button on the side like on the 402 and 502, so I would have to give up one of my already existing buttons here, hit edit and DPI shift. I can also G shift, which will give me a second functionality on everything. Again, something I'm not going to take advantage of. But if you do have a, let's say, Logitech G910 Orion Spark connected with the Roma G switches, you can go into the G buttons, edit, assign new command, mouse function, and do a G shift this way. But again, that's kind of out the way. It would be nice, Logitech, to be able to assign a standard keyboard button like shift or like Z to do that for us. This does require that LGS is open. But going back to the mouse here, we run it at 1000 Hz, and moving into the next tab, we've got lighting. So here we can run it in color cycle, off, or breathing effect. Color cycle, the only weird thing is that the colors don't actually work in tandem with each other when on color cycle. The only way to do it is to just keep messing around with the rate here until you get it, because by default the mouse actually runs a little bit quicker than the keyboard. So mess around until you get it, rather than just Logitech, why don't you add a button to do it for you to sync up the two. But we can turn off the lighting if we don't want it as well. Moving on, we have our surface tuning. Again, using a Corsair MM200 at the moment, I tend to use factory default for everything. Surface tuning is going to slightly affect the lift-off distance. Default will pretty much work with every surface, but if you calibrate it to a surface by hitting add MM200, for example, tune, hold left mouse and move it in a figure of 8, it's going to analyze the surface, don't move it too fast or too slow. And once it's done, it's going to calibrate the lift-off distance. Now, if I was to then transition from this surface to, let's say, a hard surface, or maybe the other way around, it might not work, in which case you're probably going to need to return to factory default and then recalibrate. But I tend to use factory default for everything. I'm a bit of a neat freak, and I prefer to use it out of the box how it was originally intended. And our final tab here is our input assessment, so to speak, input analysis. Hit start, click some buttons, and again it will show. And the only weird thing is that they don't both run together, keyboard and mouse. I don't know why. I have to do it separately. I can't actually assign both to start at the same time, which is odd, but again, not the end of the world. I just like a little bit more cooperation with my two products, given I've got LGS and it's all unified in one piece of software. But regardless, our next tab below, we've got settings. G303, we've got enable and disable angle snapping, which helps us to draw straight lines. Can be useful for games like CS and COD 4, but personally I don't take advantage of it anymore. And we can also update our firmware. In general, we've got all of these settings. We've got our keyboard, our profile, and aux control, which will allow us to take advantage of an iPhone or an Android device and change profiles on the fly through our screen, or via, let's say, check out our CPU usage and so on and so forth. But I guess I'm satisfied. The only thing the software is really missing is some control over the acceleration for those of you that don't want to do it in game. But aside from that, everything we could want in the software, and I'm very satisfied. So let's move into gameplay. So yet again, we find ourselves here in Quake Live to demonstrate a lack of acceleration inherent on the S3366 optical grade sensor, built in cooperation with Pixar, and is still Logitech exclusive. It's regarded as one of the best on the market, and for a reason. It was flawless in the G502, and here in the G303 for proof, we're going to move it from the left to the right of our MM200 mousepad slowly, and we'll see that we end up just above this white line right here. Now again, taking into some small amount of human error into account, we're going to do the same again, but this time ridiculously fast. And we can see it around about in the same place. Now, if I went that fast on the G302, it actually malfunctioned halfway and look up at the ceiling. The sensor just couldn't keep up with the movement. The G402 had the same sensor as the G302, but had fusion technology to allow it to push it further. But the G303, with this sort of redesigning and the adding of the mouse button, mouse feet underneath, have also implemented this great sensor, and again, is pretty much flawless in every aspect. It really is fantastic. So there's no acceleration inherent, meaning we can train muscle memory, and if we want to add our own preferred amount of acceleration after through the console, we can do that without having to worry about anything that's already there that could not otherwise be disabled, both positive and negative. So again, just hats off to Logitech in every aspect, just fantastic implementation. But with that said, let's just jump into gameplay and final thoughts, because like I said, we reviewed the 502 and there's not really too much to say about it beyond just fantastic. So very quickly, I want to demonstrate there's no issues here with mouse button debounce time being too high. Essentially, a higher debounce time will mean there's a period of time between mouse 1 and mouse 2 being clicked before the second is registered. So in a game like Quake Live, where you might use mouse 2 to jump and mouse 1 to fire, you won't be able to do a full height rocket jump because one of the buttons is going to be registered slightly behind the other. And it's a great test and shoot mainly because you've got variable jump. Press and hold to go higher, tap to go smaller, and very quickly tap to basically jump not at all. So essentially, we tap it really fast, we can see we do lots of little mini jumps, therefore we can successfully say the mouse button time is so low that mini jump is effective, and also full height rocket jumps are going to be no issues either. So yeah, great implementation as you would expect from using the 302 here in the 303. So moving into gameplay and final thoughts. I'm not being lazy, we've reviewed the 302, we've reviewed the 502, and the 303 is a mix mash of the two. So random gameplay popping up now in the background of me using it. This has those great fantastic G302 buttons with that spring retention system implemented into the 303. The hyper responsive, Logitech are very famous for having the lowest latency buttons on the market, and here is no exception with the 303. Hitting people if they peek out from corners of joy to do, no issues whatsoever. And couple that with the fantastic sensor also found in the G502, the S3366, exclusive to Logitech and developed in cooperation with Pixar. It just is absolutely fantastic, so responsive, no smoothing. I feel like I'm going to be repeating myself over and over again. Playing every game with this mouse is a joy, providing you get on with the shape. Now, coming back to me right here, the shape is like Marmite. Personally, and again, I'm repeating myself from the 302 video, the back end is quite big, quite wide. It reminds me of a smaller Meonix Avia. With that said, if you can get on with it, the lack of wobble, the included braided cable, the RGB lighting, that sense of the spring retention system on the buttons, the high quality feel and the lightness of this mouse honestly make it the best money can buy if you can get on with the shape. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. A lot of people do love it. Those of you that are wanting a G100S refresh, that I hope is still to come, because this is not quite it. It's very unique, but if you can get on with it, you're going to love it. And I think that's kind of what I have to end on here. Logitech are definitely one of the few companies that you could happily have a mouse, a keyboard, a mouse pad. Although the mouse pad, again, a little bit too small. I'd like to see the super mats they give their pro gamers on sale for people to buy. But a gaming headset as well. They're one of the few companies you can have one of everything of and be happy with. And I find it amazing that a huge company like Logitech is so in touch with what the enthusiast gamer wants. Because let's face it, like, a lot of the enthusiasts just talk, the sheep, they follow the crowd. What are maybe not issues become issues, and Logitech address them. And honestly, 303, if you can get on with the shape, one of the best money you can buy at the moment. Please definitely check it out if you're in the market. Just be prepared to shape. Yeah. So I've been MVC here for the Scam Pro Gaming Tab. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Any questions or comments, let me know below. But yeah, congratulations Logitech, fantastic product, and we'll catch you next time on the Scam Pro Gaming. Hey guys, MVC here for the Scam Pro Gaming Tab for another video review. Today we're going to be checking out the G303 from Logitech, essentially a relaunched 302. Now if you cast your eyes back to my 302 review and you haven't seen it, it'll be somewhere available here to click on the screen. My main complaint was the fact that it wobbled. Now the sensor did have a low max tracking speed, kind of rectified in the 402 with the use of fusion technology, but it would still be okay for 99% of people. My issue was the fact that this wobble left and right was caused by a lack of mouse feet on the left and right edge of the mouse. This has now been rectified on the 303, as well as adding a braided cable, RGB lighting, and implementing the 502 sensor, the 3366. It promises really to be one of the best mice, if not the best mouse on the market, if you can get on with the shape. So with that said, we're going to jump into a quick overview, have a look at the software and thoughts on gameplay. Going to try and make it as short as possible, because essentially it is a fixed 302 but with the 502 sensor, and then yeah, talk about my final thoughts at the end and hopefully convince you whether it's worth